I should have known something was wrong when Vanessa insisted on baking the cake herself. My son's wife had never been what you'd call domestic. In the 7 years since she married Trevor, I'd watched her order takeout for Thanksgiving, hire a decorator for their Christmas tree, and once serve store-bought cookies on paper plates at Easter dinner while claiming they were artisanal. She worked in pharmaceutical sales, made good money, and had opinions about everything from politics to the proper way to load a dishwasher. Trevor adored her. I tried to, but that Tuesday in March, when I turned 73, Vanessa announced she was making my birthday cake from scratch. German chocolate. My favorite. You don't have to go to all that trouble, I told her over the phone, my voice probably betraying more skepticism than gratitude. It's no trouble at all, Martin. Her tone had that bright, tight quality that always made me feel like I was being managed. Your family. You deserve something special. The party was at their house in Riverside Oaks, one of those new developments where every home looks vaguely Mediterranean and the HOA fines you for having the wrong shade of beige mailbox. Trevor and Vanessa had moved there 4 years ago, shortly after their twin daughters were born. The mortgage was crushing them, I knew, though Trevor never complained. He'd inherited my tendency to suffer in silence. I arrived at 6 with a bottle of wine. I couldn't really afford, and a knot in my stomach I couldn't explain. The March evening was cool and gray, threatening rain. Trevor answered the door in his work clothes, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired. He always looked tired these days. Hey, Dad, happy birthday. He hugged me, and I caught the smell of coffee and stress sweat. Come on in. Vanessa's just finishing up the cake. The house had that frantic energy of parents with young children. Toys scattered across the hardwood floors. Crayon marks on the walls. The twins, Bella and Ivy, 4 years old and wild as March hares, were watching cartoons in the living room, their faces illuminated by the television's glow. They waved at me absently. Girls, come say hello to Grandpa, Trevor called. They ignored him. He didn't press it. I noticed the dark circles under his eyes, the way his shoulders slumped even when he smiled. In the kitchen, Vanessa stood over a 3-layer cake covered in chocolate frosting and coconut pecan icing. It actually looked good, which surprised me. She wore a white blouse and dark jeans, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, and when she turned to greet me, her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Martin. Happy birthday. She didn't hug me. She never did. What do you think? She gestured at the cake like a game show host revealing a prize. Looks wonderful, I said honestly. I'm impressed. Well, I had to make something special for Trevor's father. The emphasis on Trevor's father felt deliberate, like a designation rather than a relationship. Shall we eat dinner first? I made lasagna. Dinner was awkward, which wasn't unusual. Trevor tried to fill the silences with talk about work. He was a project manager at a construction firm, while the twins bickered over who got which colored plate. Vanessa barely touched her food, just pushed it around while checking her phone periodically. I asked about her work. She gave one-word answers. I asked about the girls' preschool. She said it was fine. Trevor compensated with extra enthusiasm, his voice too loud, his laugh too quick. I recognized the pattern. It was the same way I'd acted during the last years with Trevor's mother before she left us. Before the divorce that Trevor, at 12 years old, had weathered with devastating silence. After dinner, Vanessa brought out the cake with candles blazing. They sang happy birthday in that half-hearted way families do when the moment feels more obligatory than celebratory. I made a wish something vague about health and peace and blew out the candles. The twins clapped. Trevor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, ignored it. Let me cut you the first piece, Martin, Vanessa said, picking up the cake knife with a strange precision. That's when I felt it. A sharp pain in my chest, sudden and vicious, like someone had reached inside my ribcage and squeezed. I gasped, gripping the edge of the table. Dad? Trevor was on his feet immediately. Dad, you okay? The pain spread down my left arm, up into my jaw. The room tilted. I tried to speak, but my tongue felt thick and useless. Oh my God. Trevor's voice seemed to come from very far away. Vanessa, call 911. I think he's having a heart attack. But before she could move, before anyone could do anything, my vision cleared just enough to see Vanessa standing there with the cake knife in one hand and a strange expression on her face. Not panic. Not concern. Something else. Something calculating. And then, in what I can only describe as slow motion, she picked up a slice of that German chocolate cake, that cake she'd made from scratch, and she threw it directly into my face. The frosting was cold and sticky. It filled my nose, my mouth, my eyes. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I heard Trevor shouting, heard the twins screaming, heard chairs scraping and feet running. The last thing I remember before everything went black was wondering why. I woke up in the back of an ambulance, an oxygen mask on my face, a paramedic shining a light in my eyes. My chest still hurt, but the crushing pressure had eased to a dull ache. "Stay with me, sir," the paramedic said. "Young guy, maybe 30, with kind eyes. We're almost there. Your son's following behind us." Hospital. Bright lights, voices, machines beeping. A doctor with gray hair and tired eyes leaning over me, asking questions I couldn't quite answer. Time felt elastic, stretching and compressing in ways that made no sense. They wheeled me into radiology. Chest X-ray. CT scan. More questions. The pain medication made everything fuzzy around the edges, like watching my life through frosted glass. Trevor was there, pacing in the hallway, his face pale and frightened. He looked like he had when he was a boy, and I'd picked him up from school after he'd gotten into a fight defending a smaller kid. Brave but shaken. "The doctor said it might not be your heart," he told me when they finally let him into my room. "They're running more tests." "Dad, I'm so sorry." Vanessa, I don't know what happened. She said she panicked. She said she didn't know what to do, and he couldn't finish. "Where is she?" My voice came out rough, damaged. "Home with the girls. She's really upset. She keeps calling." I didn't ask what Vanessa was upset about. I just closed my eyes and let the medication pull me under again. Dr. Patricia Chen came to see me around 10 that night. She was maybe 50, with short black hair and an expression that suggested she'd seen everything medicine had to offer and wasn't easily surprised. She carried a tablet with my x-rays on it. "Mr. Morrison, I'm Dr. Chun, the attending physician tonight. I need to talk to you about what we found." Trevor straightened in the chair beside my bed. "Is it his heart?" "No." Dr. Chun pulled up a chair and set the tablet where we could both see it. The x-ray of my chest looked like a strange landscape, all shadows and light. "Your heart is actually in good shape for a man your age. What concerned me is this." She pointed to a spot on my rib cage, a shadow that looked darker than the rest. "This is a fracture, a broken rib, but it's not fresh. Based on the healing pattern, I'd say this happened at least 6 to 8 weeks ago. Maybe longer." I stared at the image. "I don't remember breaking a rib. That's what concerns me." Dr. Chun zoomed in on the image. "There are also some other anomalies. Small stress fractures in your vertebrae. Bone density issues that seem inconsistent with your medical history. Mr. Morrison, when was the last time you had a complete physical?" "Last year." "Everything was fine? And you haven't had any falls? Any injuries?" "No, I've felt tired lately, weak, but I thought that was just age." Dr. Chien exchanged a look with Trevor. "Mr. Morrison, I'm going to be direct with you. The pattern of bone damage we're seeing, combined with the sudden onset of chest pain and some irregularities in your blood work, I'm concerned about poisoning." The word hung in the air like a grenade. "Poisoning?" Trevor's voice cracked. "What do you mean, poisoning?" "I mean that something in your father's system is causing his bones to deteriorate rapidly and putting stress on his cardiovascular system. It could be environmental exposure, medication interaction, or..." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Or it could be deliberate." I felt like I'd been punched. "You think someone poisoned me?" "I think we need to run more tests. And I think, given the circumstances, the sudden collapse, the unusual presentation, I'm legally obligated to contact the authorities." "The authorities?" Trevor stood up, his face flushed. You mean the police? You think someone tried to kill my father? I think your father needs a full toxicology workup, and I think the police need to investigate how he came to ingest whatever substance is causing this damage. Dr. Chun stood as well. I've already made the call. There's a detective on the way. That's when I looked at Trevor and saw something I'd never seen before in my son's face. Not confusion, not fear, recognition, like a puzzle piece clicking into place. Like a truth he'd been avoiding suddenly demanding to be seen. Oh God, he whispered. Oh my God, Trevor. I reached for his hand. What is it? But he was already backing toward the door, his phone in his hand, his fingers shaking as he dialed. I have to go. I have to go right now. Mr. Morrison. Please wait, Dr. Chun started, but Trevor was already gone. Running down the hospital corridor like the building was on fire, I tried to sit up. But the pain and the drugs kept me pinned to the bed. Trevor, Trevor. A nurse rushed in, alarmed by the monitors that had started beeping frantically. So you need to calm down. Your blood pressure? My son? I gasped. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. But by then, Trevor was gone. And I was alone with Dr. Chun, with the x-rays of my poisoned bones and with the creeping, horrible realization that my birthday cake hadn't been a gesture of love at all. It had been a weapon, and Vanessa hadn't thrown it in my face because she panicked. She'd done it to destroy the evidence. Detective Raymond Hawthorne arrived at the hospital at midnight, wearing a wrinkled suit and the expression of a man who'd been called away from something more pleasant. He was in his 40s, broad-shouldered and balding, with the careful, watchful eyes of someone who'd learned not to trust first impressions. He pulled up a chair beside my hospital bed and took out a notebook. Old school. No tablet, no phone. Just paper and pen. Mr. Morrison, I'm Detective Hawthorne with Riverside PD. Dr. Chung called me about some concerns regarding your medical condition. I need to ask you some questions. Are you up for that? I nodded. The medication had worn off enough that I could think clearly, but not enough that I couldn't feel the dull ache in my chest and the sharper pain of betrayal. Tell me about tonight. Start from the beginning. So I did. I told him about the birthday dinner, about Vanessa's insistence on making the cake, about the sudden chest pain and the cake in my face. He listened without interrupting, writing notes in small, precise handwriting. And your daughter-in-law, he said when I finished. How would you describe your relationship with her? I hesitated. Complicated. Complicated how? She's never liked me. I don't know why exactly. Trevor says I'm imagining it, but I'm not. It's in the way she looks at me, the way she speaks to me. Like I'm an inconvenience. A burden. Have you had any arguments? Any conflicts? Nothing dramatic. Just ... tension. She thinks I judge her parenting. Her housekeeping. Maybe I do. I don't know. I try not to. But she's always been defensive around me. Hawthorne made a note. Your son. Where is he now? He left. He ran out of here about an hour ago after the doctor mentioned poisoning. He looked terrified. Did he say where he was going? No, but I think he went home. To Vanessa. Hawthorne closed his notebook. Mr. Morrison, I'm going to be honest with you. Based on what Dr. Chun found and what you've told me, we have reason to believe this wasn't an accident. If someone has been poisoning you, we need to figure out who and how. That means we need to search your home and possibly your son's home. We need to look at your medication, your food, everything you've ingested recently. Are you willing to cooperate with that? Of course. Whatever you need. Good. Now I need you to think carefully. In the past few months, has anyone given you food or drink? Anyone outside your normal routine? I thought about it. My life was small, circumscribed by age and limited income. I lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment across town. I saw Trevor and his family maybe twice a month. I had a few friends at the senior center where I played cards on Thursdays. But food? Who'd given me food? And then I remembered. Vanessa, I said slowly. About 2 months ago, she started bringing me meals. Hawthorne looked up sharply. Meals? She said she was worried I wasn't eating enough. That I looked thin? She'd drop by my apartment once or twice a week with containers of food. Casseroles, soups, stews? She said she was making extra anyway, for the family. Did you eat the food? Most of it, yes. It was good. Better than I expected, honestly. Did anyone else eat this food? Your son? The grandchildren? I thought about that. No, she said it was special meals for me. Different recipes than what she made for Trevor and the girls. She said she was catering to my dietary needs. The detective's expression darkened. What dietary needs? I have high blood pressure. She said she was making low-sodium versions. Hawthorne stood up. Mr. Morrison, I need to go. But I'm leaving an officer outside your room, and I'm going to have Dr. Chung keep you here for observation until we know more. Don't eat or drink anything that doesn't come directly from the hospital staff. Understand? You think she did this? It wasn't a question. I think we need to investigate. And I think you need to stay safe while we do. He headed for the door, then turned back. Your son. Does he have a history of violence? Any domestic incidents we should know about? Trevor? God, no. He's the gentlest person I know. He wouldn't hurt anyone. Sometimes gentle people do desperate things when they're protecting someone they love. After he left, I lay in the dark hospital room listening to the beep of monitors and the distant sounds of the night shift. I thought about Trevor running from the hospital. I thought about Vanessa's tight smile as she held that cake knife. I thought about all those meals, those careful, poisoned meals delivered with false concern, and I thought about something else. Something that had been nagging at me since Dr. Chun showed me the X-rays. My bones had been breaking for months, and I hadn't noticed. I'd felt tired, weak, achy. I'd blamed age. But what if it wasn't age? What if every meal Vanessa brought me was laced with some substance that leached calcium from my bones, that made me weaker and sicker with every bite? My phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I tried calling him back. It went straight to voicemail. The next morning, Dr. Chun came by with preliminary toxicology results. She looked like she hadn't slept. Mr. Morrison, we found elevated levels of thallium in your blood. Thallium? The word meant nothing to me. It's a heavy metal, extremely toxic. It was used in rat poison until the 1970s, but it's still available through certain industrial channels. In small doses over time, it causes exactly the kind of bone and tissue damage we're seeing in you. Hair loss, fatigue, bone pain, cardiovascular stress. I touched my head unconsciously. My hair had been thinning lately. I'd thought it was normal. How would someone get thallium? That's a question for the police. But it's not easy to obtain. Whoever did this would have needed access to industrial materials or black market sources. And they would have needed to administer it regularly over weeks or months to cause this level of damage. The meals, I said. Vanessa's meals. Dr. Chun nodded grimly. Detective Hawthorne executed search warrants early this morning. At your apartment and at your son's home. They found containers in your refrigerator with trace amounts of thallium. And they found something else. She pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. Mr. Morrison, there's no easy way to say this. Your son's house. There was evidence of extensive financial fraud. False insurance claims, forged documents, a life insurance policy on you worth $500,000 that was taken out 6 months ago. The room spun. Trevor wouldn't. The policy was taken out in your name with Vanessa listed as the sole beneficiary. Your son's signature was on the application documents as a witness. No, my voice came out strangled. No, Trevor wouldn't do that. He loves me. He's my son. I don't know what your son knew or didn't know, but the police have him in custody now, and they've arrested Vanessa for attempted murder. I think I stopped breathing. The monitors started beeping frantically again, and Dr. Chung called for a nurse. and everything dissolved into a chaos of voices and hands and medication flooding my veins when I woke up again. It was afternoon. Hawthorne was back, sitting in the same chair, looking even more tired than before. "Your daughter-in-law isn't talking," he said without preamble. "But we've built a pretty clear picture from the evidence. The thallium was ordered online using your son's credit card. The meals were prepared in your son's kitchen. The insurance policy was filed using documents from your son's home office." But Trevor didn't know," I insisted. "He couldn't have known." Hawthorne's expression was carefully neutral. "Mr. Morrison, your son worked long hours. He traveled for work frequently. He gave his wife access to all his accounts, all his files. She had plenty of opportunity to do this without his knowledge. But he also signed documents. He witnessed paperwork. At minimum, he was negligent. At worst, double quote, at worst what? You think he helped her try to kill me? I think we need to find out what he knew and when he knew it. Right now, he's not talking either. He lawyered up the second we brought him in. I closed my eyes. Smart. Trevor had always been smart. But silent. Always so silent. "There's something else you should know," Hawthorne continued. "Vanessa has been having an affair for at least a year. Guy she met through work. We found texts, hotel receipts, the whole 9 yards. Your son might not have known about the poisoning, but I think he knew about the affair, and I think he was trying to decide what to do about it. So she was poisoning me to cash in on life insurance and run off with her lover? That's the theory. Murder for profit. Classic motive. The affair adds urgency. She wanted out of the marriage but didn't want to lose the financial security. $500,000 and a grieving widow gets more sympathy than a cheating wife in a divorce. I felt sick. Not from the poison, though that too. Sick from the sheer human ugliness of it all. And the cake? Why throw the cake in my face? We think she panicked. She saw you having chest pain. Maybe the thallium dose that night was higher. Meant to be fatal, Anne? She realized if you got to the hospital, they'd test you. They'd find the poison. So she destroyed the evidence. Threw the cake in your face, created chaos, hoped the substance would be obscured by the trauma and the emergency response. It almost worked. Almost. But Dr. Chun is thorough. And you're lucky. He stood up, pocketing his notebook. We'll need your full statement when you're feeling up to it. And you'll probably need to testify if this goes to trial. What about Trevor? What happens to him? That depends on what he knew. If he was complicit, he's looking at conspiracy to commit murder. If he was negligent, maybe accessory after the fact. If he truly didn't know, Hawthorne shrugged. He's still going to have to live with the fact that his wife tried to kill his father. After he left, I stared at the ceiling for a long time. I thought about Trevor at 12, watching his mother pack her bags and leave without looking back. I thought about Trevor at 25, introducing me to Vanessa with such hope in his eyes. I thought about Trevor at 35, holding his newborn daughters and promising them he'd be a better father than he'd had. I'd failed him somehow. I must have. Otherwise, how had we ended up here? My phone buzzed again. Another text from Trevor. Dad, please. I need to talk to you, please. I deleted it without responding. They kept me in the hospital for 5 more days while the thallium slowly worked its way out of my system. Dr. Chun said I was lucky the poisoning hadn't gone on longer. Another few weeks and the damage to my bones and organs might have been irreversible. As it was, I'd need months of physical therapy and probably never feel quite as strong as I had before. I started thinking about my life. Before the poisoning. Before the betrayal. Before I knew what my daughter-in-law was capable of. Trevor called 16 times. I didn't answer. He sent texts begging me to let him explain. I deleted them all. Detective Hawthorne told me Trevor had been released on bond pending the investigation, but that Vanessa remained in custody, denied bail due to flight risk. The twins were staying with Vanessa's sister in California. On the 6th day, Trevor showed up at the hospital. I was sitting in a chair by the window, trying to read a book I couldn't focus on when the door opened and he walked in. He looked terrible and shaven, hollowed out like he'd aged 10 years in a week. He stood in the doorway for a moment, just looking at me. "They said you were awake," he said quietly. I set down the book. "You shouldn't be here?" "Dad, please." "I need you to understand." "Understand what?" "That your wife tried to kill me? That you either helped her or were too blind to notice? That I trusted you and this is what happened?" Trevor flinched like I'd hit him. "I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know what she was doing." "But you knew something was wrong." He closed the door and sat down, uninvited, in the chair across from me. "I knew she was unhappy. I knew she wanted more than I could give her. The house was too expensive, the bills were piling up, and she was angry all the time. Angry at me for not making more money, angry at the girls for needing so much, angry at life for not being what she expected." "So you just let her be angry? You didn't think to protect your family?" "To protect me? I didn't know you needed protecting." His voice rose, then broke. "I thought she was just bitter, disappointed. I thought if I worked harder, made more money, gave her the life she wanted, it would get better. I didn't know she was capable of—" He couldn't finish. "The affair. You knew about that." He nodded miserably. "I found out about 3 months ago. Hotel receipt in her purse. I confronted her. She said she'd end it. She said she still loved me, that it was just a mistake. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. And the insurance policy? I signed it. She said it was smart financial planning. She said with your health issues, I didn't have health issues until she started poisoning me." Trevor's face crumpled. I know that now. But then I just saw you getting older, getting tired, and I thought she was being practical, thinking ahead. I didn't read the fine print. I didn't question why she was the beneficiary instead of me. I just signed what she put in front of me because I was trying to keep the peace. Trying to keep our family together, your family. I said the words like they tasted bitter. What about me? I'm your family too, I know. Tears were streaming down his face now. I know, Dad, and I'm so sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. I should have protected you. I should have seen what was happening. But I was so focused on trying to save my marriage, trying to be a good husband to someone who didn't love me anymore, that I missed what was right in front of me. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside the window, the March sky was gray and heavy with unshed rain. I thought about all the ways we fail the people we love. All the ways we choose wrong, look away, hope for the best when we should demand better. Did you love her? I asked. I thought I did. But I don't think I knew what love was. I think I was just terrified of being alone. Of failing at marriage the way ... He stopped, the way I did. Yeah, I closed my eyes. Your mother leaving wasn't your fault, Trevor. You know that, right? I know. But it still shaped everything. Every relationship I've had, every choice I've made. I was so determined not to be like you, not to lose my wife, not to end up alone, that I became something worse. I became someone who let his own father almost die because he couldn't see the truth about the woman he married. What happens now? Trevor wiped his face with his sleeve. My lawyer says they probably won't charge me with conspiracy. The evidence shows Vanessa acted alone. But there's a chance I'll face charges for negligence or accessory after the fact. Either way, my marriage is over. My career is probably over. Who's going to hire a project manager whose wife tried to murder someone? And my daughters, His voice broke again. They're going to grow up knowing their mother is in prison for attempted murder. That their father was too stupid or too weak to stop it. They're going to grow up knowing their father was human, I said quietly. That he made mistakes but told the truth when it mattered. That's more than a lot of kids get. Trevor looked at me with something like hope. Does that mean you can forgive me? I thought about that. About forgiveness and trust and the complicated geometry of family love. I don't know yet. Right now, I'm just trying to survive. But ask me again in 6 months. He nodded. It was more than he'd expected. Maybe more than he deserved. The police found her computer, he said after a moment. Vanessa's. They said there were searches going back almost a year. How to poison someone without getting caught. What poisons are undetectable. How much life insurance you can take out on someone without raising red flags. He laughed bitterly. She was planning this for a long time, and I lived with her every day and never suspected a thing. People believe what they want to believe, or what they need to believe. Trevor stood up. I should go. I just wanted you to know. Whatever happens to me, whatever I deserve, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad Dr. Chun was thorough. I'm glad Vanessa failed. He was at the door when I spoke again. Trevor, why do you think she hated me so much? He turned back, his face shadowed with something like understanding. Because you were the one person who saw her clearly, who didn't fall for the performance, and that made you dangerous. After he left, I sat by the window and watched the rain finally begin to fall. I thought about Vanessa in her jail cell, the life she'd planned crumbling around her. I thought about Trevor trying to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. I thought about those two little girls, Bella and Ivy, who'd lost both parents to different kinds of prison. And I thought about myself at 73, poisoned but not dead, betrayed but still breathing. Life had always been harder than I expected, more complicated than I wanted. But it was mine, and I'd survived worse than Vanessa's careful malice. I'd survived. The trial happened 6 months later, in September. By then I was out of physical therapy and walking without a cane. My hair had grown back. My bones had healed, though they'd never be as strong as before. Dr. Chun said I'd been extraordinarily lucky. Another month of exposure to thallium and I'd likely be dead. Vanessa pleaded not guilty, but the evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution laid it all out in careful, damning detail: the online purchases, the doctored meals, the insurance policy, the affair, the calculated planning. Her lawyer tried to argue diminished capacity, depression, mental illness. The jury didn't buy it. I testified on day 3. The prosecutor asked me to describe the birthday party, the cake in my face, the moment I realized I'd been poisoned. Vanessa sat at the defense table, her expression blank, her hands folded primly in front of her. She looked smaller than I remembered, diminished. When I finished, her lawyer cross-examined me. He tried to suggest I was a difficult father-in-law, that I'd made Vanessa's life miserable with criticism and judgment, that she'd acted out of desperation rather than malice. Mr. Morrison, isn't it true that you never approved of your daughter-in-law? I tried to like her, I said honestly, but she never liked me. And isn't it true that you criticized her parenting, her housekeeping, her marriage? I may have had opinions, but I never tried to kill her. The courtroom rippled with quiet laughter. The judge gavelled for silence. The verdict came back on day 7. Guilty on all counts. Attempted murder, insurance fraud, forgery. The judge sentenced her to 25 years. She showed no emotion when the sentence was read, just stood there with that same blank expression, like she was watching something happen to someone else. Trevor wasn't in the courtroom. He'd moved to Arizona the month before, taking a job with a construction firm there, starting over. He called me once a week now. We talked about the weather, about the twins, about everything except what had happened. Maybe someday we'd be able to talk about it. Maybe not. The day after the sentencing, I went to see Vanessa in prison. I don't know why exactly. Maybe I needed to understand. Maybe I needed to see her reduced, powerless, contained. Maybe I just needed to look her in the eye one more time and know I'd survived what she'd tried to do to me. They led me to a visiting room, stark and industrial, separated by thick glass. Vanessa appeared on the other side in an orange jumpsuit, her blonde hair lank and unwashed, her face bare of makeup. She picked up the phone. I picked up mine. Why did you come here? She asked. No greeting. No preamble to ask you why. She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You want me to explain? To give you some sob story about how hard my life was, how much pressure I was under, how I felt trapped. She leaned forward. The truth is, Martin, I did it because I could. Because you were weak and trusting and pathetic. Because $500,000 would have set me free. Because you were in my way. I was Trevor's father. You were a burden? An obligation? Something he had to care about because of biology and guilt. He would have been better off without you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw something I'd missed before. Not evil exactly. Something sadder and more human than that. Emptiness, a vast, aching void where love and empathy should have been. Do you feel anything at all? I asked. Regret? Remorse? Shame? I feel angry that I got caught. That's about it. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It never had. You know what the funny thing is? If you just died like you were supposed to, everyone would have mourned you. Trevor would have collected the insurance. I would have divorced him a year later, taken my share, and moved on. Clean. Simple. But you had to go to the hospital. You had to have that thorough doctor. You had to survive. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You're not sorry. And neither am I. She stood up. Enjoy your victory, Martin. Enjoy knowing you destroyed your son's life, his family, everything he built. Because that's what you did. If you just died quietly, everyone would have been fine. But you had to survive. You had to ruin everything. She hung up the phone and walked away without looking back. I sat there for a long moment, listening to the dial tone, feeling something settle inside me. Not peace exactly, not closure, but something close to it. Understanding, maybe? The knowledge that I hadn't been wrong about her. That my instincts, dismissed and doubted for years, had been right all along. She had wanted me dead. And I had survived. That would have to be enough. It's been 2 years now since that birthday party. 2 years since I woke up in a hospital with poisoned bones and a shattered family. Time has a way of softening things, of making even the sharpest betrayals feel distant and dreamlike. I moved out of my apartment, too many memories of those contaminated meals. Too much fear attached to every container in the refrigerator. I found a small house instead, a rental on the edge of town with a garden I'm trying to learn how to tend. The physical therapy helped. I'm stronger now than I was even before the poisoning. Older, yes. More careful about what I eat and who I trust. But alive. Trevor visits once a month. He flies in from Arizona, takes me to lunch, asks us about my health with the careful attention of someone who's learned what it costs to look away. The twins come with him sometimes. They're 6 now, bright and loud and full of questions they're still too young to fully understand the answers to. Why is Mommy in timeout? Ivy asked me last month, her small face serious. Because she made some very bad choices, I told her. And sometimes when grown-ups make bad choices, they have to go away for a long time to think about what they did. Will she come back? Someday, but not for a very long time. Do you forgive her, Grandpa? I thought about that question. About Vanessa in her prison cell, serving her 25 years. About the emptiness in her eyes when she told me she only regretted getting caught. About all the ways human beings fail each other, hurt each other, destroy each other. No, I said honestly. I don't think I do. But I'm learning to forgive your daddy. And that's a start. Trevor overheard. I saw him turn away, wiping his eyes. We don't talk much about what happened. We talk about the weather, about construction projects, about the twins' school. We talk around the trauma like it's a hole in the middle of every conversation. Something we have to navigate carefully to avoid falling in. But sometimes, late at night when he's staying in my spare room, he'll come out to the porch where I'm sitting and watching the stars, and he'll say things like, I should have known, or I failed you, or I don't know how to live with what I let happen. And I tell him the truth. You're learning. We both are. The insurance company voided the policy, of course. The $500,000 Vanessa had planned to collect vanished along with her freedom. Trevor is still digging out from under the legal fees, the debt, the wreckage of his former life. He lives simply now in a small apartment, dating no one, focused entirely on his daughters and his work and trying to become someone he can respect again. Do you think I'll ever be able to trust someone again? He asked me last visit. I think you'll learn to trust yourself again first, I said. And that's harder. Detective Hawthorne stopped by a few months ago, just to check on me. We had coffee in my garden. He told me he'd worked hundreds of cases in his 20 years on the force, but mine stayed with him. The calculated cruelty of it. The patience it took to poison someone slowly over months. The birthday cake as the final, desperate attempt to destroy evidence. She almost got away with it, he said. Almost. You're one of the lucky ones. Mr. Morrison, most poisoning victims don't make it to the hospital in time. And even if they do, most doctors don't catch it. You had 3 things working in your favor: timing, Dr. Chun's thoroughness, and your son's sudden realization that something was very wrong. Is that what saved me? Trevor running out of the hospital? Partially. His panic confirmed our suspicions. Made us look harder at the evidence. If he'd stayed calm, played it off, we might have taken longer to piece it together. His guilty conscience helped build the case. I thought about that. About Trevor's face when Dr. Chun said the word poisoning. The recognition. The horror. The immediate understanding that his wife was capable of something monstrous. He knew her, I said. Maybe not what she was doing specifically, but he knew something was broken inside her. And he chose to look away. A lot of people do that. It's easier than confronting the truth. Easier and more dangerous. Hawthorne nodded. She be eligible for parole in 20 years. She be in her 50s. Still time to build a new life if she's capable of it. She's not. You sound certain? I looked into her eyes. There's nothing there. No remorse. No capacity for change. Just anger that she got caught. Maybe prison will change her. Maybe, but I doubt it. He left shortly after, but his words stayed with me. 20 years. Vanessa would be 54 when she got out. The twins would be 26. Would they visit her in prison? Would they try to build a relationship with the mother who tried to murder their grandfather? Or would they do what I'd done, cut the ties, walk away, survive? I hoped they'd be stronger than that. Wiser. I hoped they'd find a way to hold compassion for their mother, without excusing what she'd done. To understand brokenness without being broken by it. But that was years away. For now, they were just children. Playing in my garden, asking innocent questions, learning to navigate a world more complicated than they yet understood. Last week, I got a letter. It came in a plain envelope. Postmarked from the Women's Correctional Facility where Vanessa is serving her sentence. My first instinct was to burn it unopened. My second was to call Trevor and ask what I should do. But in the end, I sat down at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and opened it. The handwriting was neat, precise, controlled. Like Vanessa herself, Martin, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know you have every right to throw this letter away without reading it. But I'm writing anyway because my therapist says I need to take responsibility for what I did. So here it is. I tried to kill you. Not in a moment of passion or temporary insanity, but deliberately, over months, with careful planning. I poisoned your food. I took out an insurance policy on your life. I planned to collect the money and disappear. You want to know why? The truth is, I don't have a good answer. I was unhappy. I felt trapped. I wanted money and freedom and a life different from the one I had. And you were the easiest target. You trusted me. You ate what I gave you. You never questioned. My therapist wants me to say I'm sorry, that I feel remorse, that I understand the harm I caused, and maybe I do on some intellectual level. I understand that what I did was wrong. I understand that I hurt you, hurt Trevor, hurt my daughters. I understand that I threw away my life for a fantasy that was never going to work anyway, but I don't know if I feel it. I don't know if I can feel it. There's something missing in me, Martin. There always has been. Some capacity for empathy or guilt or connection that other people seem to have naturally. I learned to fake it. I learned to say the right things, make the right expressions, play the role people expected. But it was always performance. Trevor loved me. Really loved me. And I couldn't feel it. I couldn't reciprocate. I could only resent him for needing something from me I wasn't capable of giving. You saw through me. From the very beginning, you saw that something was wrong. that I wasn't quite right. And that made you dangerous. Because if you could see it, eventually Trevor might see it too. Eventually everyone might see that I was hollow. So yes, I wanted you dead. Not because you were a bad person or because you wronged me, but because you saw the truth. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I want it. I'm writing this because my therapist says it's part of the process. But the truth is, Martin, I think we both know some things can't be forgiven. Some damage can't be undone. You survived. I'm in prison. Trevor is picking up the pieces. The girls are growing up without me. This is what my choices created. This is what my emptiness cost. I don't know if that counts as remorse. But it's all I have. Vanessa, I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. I thought about responding. I thought about writing back to tell her that self-awareness without actual change is just narcissism with better vocabulary. That recognizing you're broken doesn't absolve you of responsibility for the destruction you cause. But in the end, I didn't write back. Because Vanessa was right about one thing. Some things can't be forgiven. Some damage can't be undone. She had tried to kill me. She had poisoned me slowly, deliberately, patiently. She had looked me in the eye and smiled while planning my death. And when her plan failed, she'd felt only anger at being caught. Understanding why she did it didn't change what she'd done. Knowing she was fundamentally broken didn't heal the bones she'd fractured or restore the months of my life she'd stolen. I burned the letter in my fireplace that night and watched the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. Some things deserve to be consumed by fire and forgotten. Yesterday was my 75th birthday. Trevor flew in with the twins. We went to a restaurant, neutral territory, nowhere near that house in Riverside Oaks, which has long since been sold. We ordered burgers and fries, and the twins sang "Happy Birthday" with loud, off-key enthusiasm. "Make a wish, Grandpa," Bella demanded. I closed my eyes and thought about what I wanted: health, peace, time with these people I loved, a future unburdened by the past. And then I thought, I already have those things. I survived when I wasn't supposed to. I'm alive when Vanessa planned for me to be dead. Every day now is borrowed time, stolen back from someone who tried to steal it from me. I don't need to wish for anything. I just need to be grateful for what is. I blew out the candles. The twins clapped. Trevor smiled, a real smile, the first genuinely happy expression I'd seen on his face in 2 years. "What did you wish for?" Ivy asked. "I can't tell you, or it won't come true." "That's silly. Wishes don't work like that." "Maybe not. But hope does." After dinner, Trevor walked me to my car. The evening was cool and clear, the first real hint of autumn in the air. "Dad," he said quietly, "thank you. For what? For not giving up on me? For still letting me be part of your life? For giving me a chance to be a better son than I was?" I looked at him, this man I'd raised, who'd failed me and disappointed me and almost lost me forever through negligence and willful blindness. This man who was trying so hard to be better, to do better, to become someone worthy of forgiveness. "You were always a good son, Trevor. You just made a terrible choice about who to marry." I made a lot of terrible choices. So did I, so does everyone. The question isn't whether you make mistakes. It's what you do after. He hugged me then, tight and fierce, and I felt him shaking. "I love you, Dad. I love you too." When I got home that night, I sat in my garden under the stars and thought about revenge. Not the obvious kind: prison and trials and justice. That had already happened. Vanessa was locked away. The system had worked, more or less, but there's another kind of revenge. The revenge of survival. The revenge of living well, despite someone's best efforts to destroy you. The revenge of healing when they expected you to break. Vanessa had wanted me dead. She'd planned it carefully, executed it patiently, and come within days of succeeding. But she'd failed. And now she sat in a prison cell while I sat in a garden I'd planted myself, surrounded by flowers I'd learned to grow, planning a future she'd tried to steal. That was my revenge. Not hatred, not bitterness. Just life. Stubborn, persistent, beautiful life. I'd survived the poisoning. I'd survive the betrayal. I'd survive the knowledge that someone who smiled at me across dinner tables had been planning my death with every bite of food. She gave me Dot, and now I was 75 years old, watching stars wheel overhead, feeling the cool breeze on my skin, tasting the sweetness of air in my lungs, still here, still breathing, still fighting. Dot's still alive. The doctors say I probably have another 10 or 15 years if I'm lucky. More than Vanessa took from me, but less than I might have had without the poisoning. My bones will always be weaker. My heart will always carry the strain. But I'm here, and that's everything. That's the whole damn story. A woman tried to kill me. She almost succeeded. But in the end, I'm the one sitting under the stars, and she's the one locked in a cage. I don't know if that's justice exactly. I don't know if anything can truly balance the scales after something like this. But it's something. It's enough. Tomorrow, I'll wake up and make breakfast. I'll tend my garden. I'll call Trevor and ask about his week. I'll live another day that Vanessa tried to steal from me. And the day after that. I'll do it again. And again, and again. For as long as I have left, because that's what survival looks like. Not grand gestures or dramatic moments. Just waking up and choosing to keep going. Choosing to live despite everything. Choosing to find joy in small things: coffee, sunlight, flowers, grandchildren's laughter. Choosing to be here when someone wanted. You gone? That's my revenge. That's my victory. That's my story. And I'm still writing it. One day at a time, one breath at a time, one stubborn heartbeat at a time. Still here, still alive, still fighting, and I always will be. Until the day comes when I'm finally done on my terms in my time, living the life Vanessa tried to take from me. That's the ending she didn't plan for. That's the twist she never saw coming. I survived, and I'm never letting her forget it.